what we're gonna do with that going forward, get the vice chair going and stuff like that. Let's wait on that, let's push that back till we get Brad here.
Okay.
Does that sound
That's
okay?
fine, yeah.
So that Brad can share that decision with us. It's usually not an exciting decision, but just in case, we want to include him. The first thing we want to do is, the approval of the September 4th meeting minutes.
And I've got a couple of notes on that.
Okay.
Well, one, as you mentioned, that Dustin Percival, he served as a chair for us, and he served on the Transit Advisory Commission for 12 years. So I very much appreciate his service to the Transit Department and everything he's done, and he's seen a lot in the way of the growth and participated in a lot of it, so in support of it, and so we're going to miss him, and we wish him good luck. That's one of my things. The other one was that the magnetic signs that I think we decided because of the material on the bus, we're going to a sticker on that.
Okay.
And so we're working on that, but it's going to be a sticker in lieu of magnetic signs. So I just want to point that out.
Wonderful.
But that's all I had in the meeting minutes for notes.
All right. Does anybody have any notes on the minutes? All right, we should call for a vote to approve those?
Motion to approve. And second?
Roll call, Melissa?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. All in favor, none opposed?
The next item of business is the 2025 holiday and free ride day schedule. It looked good to me. I didn't see anything, it seemed like it needed any further attention. That looked pretty solid. I was wondering about this past one, a couple of weeks ago, was our first experiment with the Veterans Free Ride Day. How did that go? Was it well used or?
With the, okay, we're talking about the election day?
No, the Veterans Free Ride Day, where we went just route service only, just demand response only, and did free rides.
Oh,
for
the
veterans.
limited service.
Yes, and then just free rides just for veterans.
Um,
That was the first time we've done the Veterans Free Ride
Yeah,
Day.
I'm not sure if we have a phone tally.
We don't have a stat on it, okay. Because
But I will find out.
I saw it was back on the schedule for next year. I was curious, whether that was worth
Right.
doing what the volume was on that.
I'll have to find out
Okay.
that information and get back again.
Because if it was well used, that's
Right.
terrific. If it wasn't, that would be a day we could give all the employees a chance to be off.
It's already here for you.
If people weren't responding to it.
And I had a note on this. I know there's a number of different holidays that were available, but something to keep in mind, we started a discussion with the commission about, possibly some new fare options coming into 2025, and we budgeted for that. We're hoping something that I guess I just didn't realize, but when we are doing these free ride days, we're seeing almost like a 45% increase in ridership. That's tremendous, and when you think about that, we could really do a lot in the way of, increasing our ridership overall. I think if we really work with our comprehensive fare plan and did some adjustments with that. So we're hoping with the idea and thought of fare capping, kind of the idea that you ride so many times a day, it reverts to a daily pass, ride so many times a week, reverts to a weekly pass, and a monthly pass, so on. I think that might really help, and, that kind of overlays a little bit this holiday and free ride day calendar, because there will be some benefits there that can substantially help in increasing ridership. So I wanted to point that out in the nexus between that plan and the holiday and free ride days schedule.
Did we have any other comments on the schedule? All right, we're gonna need a vote to approve the 2025 holiday and free
So
ride
moved.
schedule.
So second.
approach to safety management systems, another acronym, SMS. So when you think about safety and FTA and public transportation, you're gonna hear the words PTASP or the, you know, the acronyms, and SMS quite a bit. That is something we talk about a lot. The objective of SMS, Safety Management System, is to help improve safety performance by adopting practices and procedures for identifying, mitigating, and monitoring risk. So while the plan is approximately 100 pages long in length, if you look at pages 80 to 81 of the plan, or 86 and 87 of your packet, might be the easiest way, that'd be the large numbers at the bottom, you'll see, I can sum this plan up and really, what we really look at in 2 pages, because I think these are a real good way to kind of express what SMS is all about. But if you look at page 80 of the plan, 86 of the packet, you'll see where it talks about organizational processes. Did you guys get the PTASP? Okay, so you got that. It talks about, you know, activities over which any organization has a reasonable degree of direct control. And that is what we look at. So there's some different things like workforce conditions, which are influences towards an accident or incident, right? You wanna identify what those are. There's active failures, and that's like training. You know, you wanna make sure that you do adequate training to prevent active failures. There's latent conditions, which are trigger factors, things that could lead to accidents. And there's defenses, things that we do to protect against accidents and incidents. So this, to me, is what our mindset is as we go forward. We're always thinking, you know, in ways of, you know, and I'll give you an example, just our turns, when we develop our turns for our fixed routes, you know, we look at all these elements and we try to identify, are we setting ourselves up for incidents or accidents at that area? And we'll talk about some of that as we go through and some of the route changes that we've decided. So that's one that we look at really close, and to me, the rest of this book kind of supports these elements. But the next one will be on the following page, page 81 of the plan, 87 of the packet, and it talks about practical drift and navigating the drift. And that to me is very important, because when you have an expectation that we're going to be doing this, right? And this is our policy, this is our practice, this is what I say we're doing, this is what we say as an organization we're doing. And 2 weeks down the road, it kind of gets forgotten a little bit, you know, and then 4 weeks down the road, gets forgotten a little more, and later down the road, nobody even remembers what we're talking about. And that distance between what we expect is happening and what is actually happening is called practical drift. And so I think that's very important. So what we work and strive to do is to tighten that line between practical drift, and we do that by, you know, observing what our expectations are, and you know, some of the ride checks that we do, going out, just surveys, things of that nature. We're trying to tighten that line and make sure that our expectations are actually being followed, so that we're providing customer service and we're providing the most safe, in the most safe manner that we can do that in. So that really shores up, you know, beyond that, what we have to do for FTA is we have to put in new targets and new baseline, establish a new baseline and new targets for the PTASP. And so what that is, it's a measure of our accidents and incidents and injuries, things of that nature, for a 5-year period, okay? So when you think about baseline, you're kind of looking at this year and when you're out there as much as we are, there's gonna be accidents and incidents. When you're traveling 500 revenue miles a year, okay? It's likely that's gonna happen. But, you know, we want to foresee the best possible outcome, so we say zero, we estimate zero accidents and incidents on any future, target setting going forward. So, that year going forward, it's gonna be zero. So we're gonna add zero for that year for 2025. We're not going to anticipate that we're going to have these, accidents and incidents. We wanna go through it with the right mindset, right philosophy, that we're going to do our level best and prevent any accidents from occurring. That said, we understand that, you know, history shows that there is, you know, a likelihood. So that is the, you know, if you look in the plan, it shows updated targets, and, I'm not sure what pages those are on, but it shows updated targets and the baseline, for 2024, 2025. But, beyond that, it describes the process. Okay, so those would be on page, 19 and 25, 19 of the plan, 25 of your packet, and 20 and 26. So if you see, it talks about injuries, 1.4. Okay, so last year's Public Transportation Agency plan had a 5-year average of 2.4. So, while we dropped off some, most of those we dropped off were in the very first year that we started tracking this. We did have a number of 3 injuries, in 2024. And, you know, a lot of that was attributed to the larger buses. You have to realize, we changed our transportation paradigm. Now, we're using large equipment, not smaller buses. And so, we've had to, you know, train all of our drivers on larger buses. We've had a lot of turnover, with staff, and, you know,
But what did you say about turnover and staff?
we've had a significant turnover in staff this year.
Because of the size of the bus?
Well, no, I mean, that's just in general, and some of the things that the city administration and the board have done is they've increased our salaries for our drivers, so that they're, competitive across the city.
Okay,
And because we were losing quite a few to the sanitation department, and now it's become pretty consistent across the board, or across the city. And so we, you know, our hiring has actually gone up, our positions are full, and so, you know, that's very good for us, and it helps us. And when you have a full staff, there's less, you know, hours that each driver has to, because we wanna maintain consistent services. So we have, we spread those hours amongst a full staff. And so there's a lot of things that fall into, the safety plan and elements of the safety plan. But all this to say, I think we're moving in the right direction. We have some good support behind us, and, you know, we're now, we're on about second, third year with the large buses. So, we're starting to get some familiarity, and that's all the way across the board, with routes, with the buses, with the drivers, you know, with the maintenance portions of it. We're starting to understand the larger buses better. So, you're going to see probably some increases when you change to a different equipment, but we think that we're heading in the right direction now. So that's really all I wanted to point out, other than we did add some new elements to the plan, which is assault awareness, because FTA has sent out, the General Directive number, 24-9, which is, for agencies to identify and do risk mitigation practices on how we are going to mitigate, concerns of assaults. And there's 2 categories of that. One is physical assaults and one is non-physical assaults. And realizing that this is something new that they put out. We don't have 5 years worth of data collected in those categories that they mentioned. So we started tracking tracking it now, and we're going to see what direction the FTA is going on that. My thinking is they're gonna come out with some new requirements in that area. I mean, I know on airlines, it could be a felony to assault an airline worker.
Were those non-physical incidents that we had, the victim was a driver
Yeah.
or a passenger? These are,
Well, a driver in these circumstances.
okay.
A transit worker. So, it's something we're paying close attention to. It's something I hope the writing public
Mhm.
pays attention to, because, the last thing you wanna do is to, distract a driver when they're in performance of their duty, operating a 40-foot bus, with passengers and motorists nearby. We need to make sure that we take all the precautions that we can, and anyone out there threatening to cause harm, they need to take note of this, that FTA is taking note of this, so, but that's part of our plan as well. And that's all I have, I think, for the comments of the PTASB. And it's a large plan, I know you just got this, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have over the plan.
Anybody have anything on the transportation safety plan?
I mentioned a couple of pages that I didn't get to write down, like in the 20s.
Okay, yes, the page numbers are 86 and 87 of your packet,
I got that. And then,
okay?
and then you did something in.
And then 25 and 26 of the packet as well.
Okay,
And those are the targets and the baseline.
okay, all right.
So now we're going to need a vote to approve the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, Melissa?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed?
The next item is the discussion of route modifications.
Yes. Let me get to my point in the packet here, the memo part. And we're all working with Granicus system now, and it's a little bit different than the way we have done it in the past. In the past, we had one memo that kind of oversaw all of the plan or packet. And now we're doing a memo for each item, so, and then Greg is going to be providing you with a little bit of training at the end here, of how to access this on Granicus, on the city's website, so, just stand by for that, but, it's really easy and very, I use it all the time, so it's very nice, but,
This new format mirrors
Yeah.
the Board of Directors.
it
meeting
does.
format, With a memorandum
It's
of
the
each
same
item,
system.
same system, same
system.
place, same look.
Right. So taking a look, at this, the transit department, what we're proposing is route modifications in 2025 in an effort to streamline services and to offer services to new points of interest. And, if you see in your packet, we've included the maps, of what our thoughts are going forward. But as an example, the Towson and Jenny Lynn fixed routes are slated to traverse outbound and inbound using the same identifier. Now that it goes out Towson, it comes back in as Jenny Lynn, so we're gonna correct that. And then also plan additions for the Towson fixed route include a stretch of Highway 71 and a portion of Highway 45. Well, right now, Jenny Lynn actually covers that Highway 71, but, so basically, it's gonna be, the Towson Highway 71, there'll be kind of a crisscross there, and Jenny Lynn will cover Jenny Lynn and crisscross, and, cover, 271, kind of out towards the, eight facility, research facility, and we're, hoping to do that on call. We've not heard back from them whether or not they're interested in that at this point, so we're hoping to, provide that service to them on call, but certainly we'll be going down that direction. and that's kind of the area, so, but also the Towson where the Highway 71 South area, where it's being covered now, is not covering any stretch of Highway 45. And we've learned that that's a very common, interest, and so, with the things that we'll be taking off of that route, we'll be able to capture, an area of Highway 45 as well, so, we're really
We can
excited
get
about
down
that.
as far as like near the dump. I know we have
It's real close.
a lot of sanitation
Right. we have
in the summer that
sanitation
works
plus
out there that
the,
uses that.
Yeah, the Centos, I think it is, and all that, we're planning on doing a big square, and keeping in mind, we can make some modifications to this as we go. This is just our starting point, what we're putting out there. So it gets us a lot closer, or we have people getting off on Highway 71 now. I mean, that's a considerably closer, area that we're looking at. So that would be for the, and then, an important point to make is that, you know, the June Lynn will be slated to work, on Saturdays as well, and I know that's been a very big interest, and,
A lot of customer interest in that.
yes, yes. The downtown shuttle slated to, address areas along Sixth Street and cover points of interest such as OK Foods, Riverfront, and Morrison Elementary, also other areas west of Midland Boulevard. Now, when, important thing to point out with that route is, you know, when that route starts out, we're looking at taking it down 12th Street, an area where we get a lot of, boarding for OK Foods. So, we're trying to capture that area where we, have pickups and drop-offs on the same location, and that would be servicing the west side of Midland Boulevard, and then allowing Midland Boulevard to service more the east side. Okay, so that route is slated, to cover new development in the Electric Park area and access the Washington Community Center. Commissioner Martin, I think that was one you were concerned with at one point, that we cover that,
Yeah,
the Ray, it used to be the Ray Baker Senior Center. but
yeah,
not.
it's something else now.
Right, slated to be, the Washington Community Center, and so we'll be covering that as well, on the Midland Boulevard. The Grand fixed route is slated to cover more of North O. Right now, we're, you know, we're going down Grand a number of times. Rather than repeating that process, we're gonna take it up, Greenwood, North Greenwood, and shoot over to North O and make that box there, and we think we'll take on a lot of new riders in that area, so, just some changes that we think, you know, will help, going forward with changes that are happening in the city. We're not planning on any changes for the Rogers Express. Likely the greatest change that we'll probably see is the, Rogers Super Center. And that's just been a lower performing route, and we feel like we can, better utilize that. And so what we're talking about doing with that is connecting it at the transfer station, running down Wheeler, and then, going up Phoenix, and it will cover those areas that's on the, Rogers Super Center route now, that we'll be taking out, that are kind of productive. So, if you look at that, you're gonna see where it's still covering those areas. But given the fact that it's going down Phoenix, and it's going down Wheeler, that's a much longer route distance-wise, but this, you know, the average traveling speed on both of those streets is considerably higher than the others. And I think, timing-wise, it'd be okay. So,
I think
you
it's
know,
important to do Wheeler.
do what?
So I think it's important to do Wheeler. I know several people want jobs on that street.
Right.
Good
Right.
way to get there.
And we've gone back and forth on that, but we know that, you know, we get some, riders from Oklahoma that come in, particularly by the Dollar General area. And we've noticed that before, and so we're hoping that, you know, we'll be capturing a new, ridership base, possibly even from Oklahoma, getting that much closer, you know, and.
And Phoenix is growing, especially
Right,
as we
Phoenix
growth
is
around the airport when the new airbase project
Right.
gets here.
Right, and so we think that's gonna be a big hit. To do this, you know, it of looking at a particular, agency in the under 500,000 category. But in our region and nationwide, it's around 76 to 78%, and we're doing it 91%. So I think that speaks loudly about, people are seeing these large buses, that they're recognizing we have a transit system in Fort Smith. And, things are not the same as they were prior to COVID. A lot more people are working at home, a lot more people are getting doctor visits remotely, schooling remotely. So you think about all that's changed, and how that's affected transportation. I think we're doing good, very good, and we're increasing those numbers every day. So I expect next year we're gonna go well over our pre-COVID ridership. We're really excited about that. So that is all I had to share with you on the routes, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I will say, we're not looking to rush into this. We don't know right now, and probably won't know until sometime in December whether or not the board is going to, accept our proposal in the budget that would add the 2 people in. So, it'd be difficult to say we could start these routes January. I just don't see that. What I would like to do is to phase them in and start working so that by the end of the first quarter, we had all these routes in, if we were successful in our request or our ask to the board. So, that's what our hope and intent is. Again, we don't wanna rush into things. Obviously, there's equipment that would have to be purchased, there's drivers that have to be hired and trained, and, there's signs that would have to be put up. So there's a lot of, things that would have to be done if we had to go ahead to move forward with this.
Where's the projected cost for that?
I did not bring that with me. I have that in the budget. I just actually included it as the additions, but I can separate out what those additions are and provide it to the commission. I just don't have it available right now with me, but, I'll get that to you.
Are the 2 drivers you are they because expanding the demand service?
They're both. It would be, so we had it broken down for hours, but there's adding so many hours by making the downtown shuttle a full route, so that adds hours. Adding in Saturday service on Jenny Lynn, that adds hours.
Okay.
And so to address that, we would need those, and we sat down and did the math, and and I'm telling you, we have to have the number of people that we have, and,
Right.
There's just no other way around.
Well, that is a safety issue for the driver.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
And what happens is when we don't have that number, the drivers that we have get to make up that gap. And so you see them working a lot of overtime. They get kind of burnt out working, numerous hours of overtime.
And it costs us more too.
And it costs us, right, it does. So, we're gonna be doing our level best to keep fully staffed and going forward, but to make sure that we're appropriately staffed, going forward with these expansion plans. And I think it's important. It'd be nice to see some changes that keep up with the growth of the city and expansion of the city, and changes of the
I
city.
noticed that some of the changes, the downtown shuttle going out to the riverfront where the Creative School for the Arts is, and also the route that's gonna go out to Ake, where Haas Hall also is in that same building, would make it so that we had service going directly to every single one of our charter high schools, because we would hit Premier, we would hit Future School, we would hit Haas Hall, we would hit
Right.
Creative School of the Arts, so every school in town would have high school service.
Right.
And high school seems like where we have the most demand and interest in students taking it.
It is,
The little ones mostly, we don't have as much with them, but the bigger ones,
Right.
there's interest in it, especially I've heard already requests for Creative School of the Arts, but
Absolutely.
Haas Hall is growing out there too,
Right,
it may
right.
need it.
And so all of these charter schools, they find a niche in public transit and utilize us, and I think that's great, and so we wanna try to accommodate where we can, and, you know, looking forward to making these changes going forward. But that's all I had as far as,
I saw about that the expansion looks like it's gonna go out towards over by Planters Road. I couldn't really tell if it was also gonna run by some of those bigger employers that are out in that direction, like Max Steel and Renova Card and obviously Planters, but some of
I
those
think it's very
bigger,
close.
does it come, you know, within reasonable
If
reasonable
you
distance
look
to
at
us?
the house in the round,
Yes, it
I
will.
think
Great.
going towards the back here. You'll see a big box, this green box right here,
Okay,
so see how it comes out?
okay, that's
Goes
that
back
loop
down,
back
yes.
behind there,
So
okay.
that covers a lot of what you're talking about right in there,
Okay.
and
There's
keeping in
cold
mind,
storage and a few other big things
this
out there.
point right here was the last point where we've been dropping off, our current point we're
Yes.
dropping off now.
So it's
So
a, it's a
it
big
has a
circle back
much
there.
greater
Okay,
coverage area than what, and we can, you know, we can make adjustments there. We did not put times on this, we are trying to keep this as much as we can, you know, this is planning. And, you know, we brought some elements during the last meeting, now we're bringing you lines on the map, and we're hoping to maybe next time bring you times associated with the lines.
we've driven them and checked it though,
Right,
right?
yes,
Kind of
yes.
a ballpark
Yeah.
drive and check.
Right, and, you know, the transit professionals that are looking at these and designing these, I've all been drivers, so they know what we
They
can
know how
and
long
can't
it's
do. And so we feel confident we can do all this, but we're going to be testing those. But again, we didn't wanna bring this to you in a polished form,
Yeah.
because we're keeping an
So
open
feedback.
mind. That, you know, if there's changes the commission recommends or that we get from the public, we want to be able to, make some adjustments as necessary. If they make sense and they're doable within, you know, what we know we can do. And so if you look at the last, you see an overall page, that gives you really a good superimposed look at our routes, what we anticipate them to be, and the coverage that we anticipate. And you really, it may be difficult to see, I think Greg's got it up on the screen there, but, the grand route, you know, it covers the center of town in the, north of Rogers Avenue. We still have not had a whole lot of, requests down in and around the Greenwood area, things of that nature. I expect that's gonna be a future growth area, and I expect more out around, this area that we talked about along Highway 45 to be a future growth area. So we've talked about some future growth areas, possibly Uber Lane area as a future growth area. But right now, we're trying to strengthen these areas close to the route, so that we're not seeing something that's too strange for the public to accept, but some growth. And I think if you'll notice, one thing that we tried to point out right now, a complicated term for us is the one on, Dodson and, Jenny Lynn. And
It's
so,
tight right
right, so we're looking to take, 21st Street and, in lieu of Jenny Lynn, in that section right there, and try to avoid the Dodson. What we've noticed, and we've always tried to cover that with a fixed route, because what used to be Old Cross, I'm not sure what they even call it, Baptist, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But predominantly, we're serving that area with the Manners Law. And so, we don't get a lot of ridership requests, fixed route. And so I don't believe we would be omitting anything by not covering that area with the fixed route, on Dodson. And I'm trying to, Rick, what is that street that we would be taking in lieu of Dodson?
Lexington,
I didn't hear you.
we'll be going straight down Lexington to.
Lexington, okay, yeah.
Dodson to
Well, East Street, I think it is.
21st.
21st, yeah. East Street and 21st, I believe is what that is what we'll be taking to make that, turn Yeah,
right?
Everything that's old is new again, right?
Yeah,
what you said,
that's back where the streetcar route was.
oh, yeah, right in
Then you
there.
turn on 21st.
Yeah.
and goes-
How about how history repeats
It
itself?
went all the way down the hill to where Ramsey is.
I'll be darned about that. So, great things are happening, and,
And the expansions for the downtown shuttle, I love the route, it's terrific. But when we're intentionally trying to, do a better service for OK Foods and that neighborhood down there, like where Electric Park is gonna be, and, there's gonna be a new complex where the Red Barn is gonna be, that should be down in the same area. The downtown shuttle hours currently, have we considered that
yes.
with that objective? Because I don't think they work.
That's part of why we're requesting additional.
Oh, not just
Yeah,
with
we're expanding. the
better,
route
okay.
To meet the same as the other routes.
Oh, great, okay, because the current downtown shuttle is,
That is. one
7
of
to 3
the
doesn't
bigger
work for
expenses.
all of
Right,
those.
Right, that's one of the bigger expenses
Okay.
that we're looking at, as well as the Saturday service for June. So
Okay.
those are the two big expense ticket items. As far as adding, service to the budget.
Anybody have anything else on the routes? Let's do a vote to approve this portion of the thought process on the routes. Just to show our approval.
So moved. To approve this portion.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call,
Alright.
Melissa,
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yep.
Bradley,
Yes,
all approved, none opposed.
We're gonna look back to the little item of business, we talked about the 24 Galley Rotary. Bring it back for you, we didn't wanna talk about it too loud. Dustin personally is no longer gonna be with us, he's resigned, that's why I'm leaving the meeting today. So we're gonna take applications and get us another spot filled.
okay.
But going forward, we need to decide what we're gonna do about chair and vice chair. Vote as in a chair and a vice chair, going forward.
Well, I suggest you, Melissa, for chair.
Okay.
You can go ahead and do that.
I've probably been here the longest,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can do that. Now, what do we wanna do on vice chair?
Do we have to do that now because the new?
Do you wanna do it when we get the new person?
Yeah.
Can we wait that long? Is
Yeah,
that fine? Yeah, let's do it. We just wait till we get our new appointees, so they can have an opinion. I like
Hopefully
that.
we'll have someone by the next meeting.
Oh, I
Now,
know.
if it takes a motion to say she can be chair, I make one.
Yes,
Okay. So, roll call, Angie, Joe,
yes.
Bradley,
Yes,
Melissa, do you accept?
All in favor, none opposed?
Okay, so we got that. That is all of that. Now we have the commissioners forum. Does anybody have anything they want to bring to the table today? I got a few things to get us going on. The 19th and B route, I have a customer who, in the downtown shuttle route, where it had been previously going down 19th and B, and I talked to folks, and it had been one of the times that it had gotten skipped, that it wasn't the lunch hour. It was a case of a new driver who was training and got confused about the lunch hour route and accidentally did the lunch hour route doing the regular route. But this customer says that since then, they've noticed several other instances of that part of the route being cut. Is that, and one of the drivers told them that that was a permanent cut. Is that a permanent change that we've instituted, or miscommunication, or?
I've asked Greg Carthon to explain, and there are
Thank you.
some adjustments that we've made to be able to pull in the School of the Arts. And so, Greg, can you give us a little overview of that?
So we're doing kind of like a pilot adjustment right now to add an addition to the riverfront. So 19B is one of the areas that we did change and cut for several reasons. One, tech is no longer there. That's the main reason why we covered that area. And so the person who was
That was the reason that we put that stop there in that bus stop
Yeah.
shelter. And remember, we had a commissioner member that was from Tech on the,
Mhm.
on the commission for many, many years. And so we tried to address that, but with him being gone, the ridership there's just not, what it was at one time. I don't know how quickly we'll look at moving that shelter because, we have it
It's
there.
rigid.
Yeah, and,
But
and
it does cause
it's-
confusion probably
it's
while it's
still-
up there.
can serve like the demand response, as a connection point. So, I mean, we'll be evaluating all of our shelter locations once we make
Mhm.
adjustments to our fixed routes. So it may stay
Moving
there.
it down there by the riverfront where we've adjusted that route to may be a smart
It
choice.
could be that is what we end up doing.
So you can move them.
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
can move the street department, pours the concrete pad
Okay.
to mount them. We try not to move them if we can
Yeah.
avoid it, and if we have use for it in the area. Sometimes, even if it's just kind of offset a little, it's still conserved, as a shelter area. But we do want them to try to be aligned with the route, so, or if there might be a chance we could, go back to that area, and so, obviously there might be somebody moving back into that, at some point, so, we're just kind of in a holding pattern at that point, at this point, with that particular shelter.
We may want to do a little bit better public information about that change before we, while it's kind of in this pilot stage before we don't have to do anything permanent until we get these big route changes that's gonna affect all of that. But we might do something, some information blasts, some social media posts or something to let folks know so that no one is expecting that to still be a part of the thing while it's still in the ride guide.
Right, I think, Greg, you have something up there, right, is that what,
For that particular route?
Yeah, that changes the shuttle that's.
No, I don't have it,
Ken.
Ms. Ken.
what we'll probably do is after this meeting,
Yeah.
based on the action the commission took, we will present that, and then we'll talk about, the temporary changes that
Right,
were made.
right.
So we could do that going forward, I think that's good.
Yeah, there's a little bit of customer
Yeah,
confusion
yeah.
on that bit.
And again, we're trying not to get ourselves too far ahead.
Oh, for sure.
Without the, authorization of the commission and a recommendation of the commission, so, and, I mean, typically when you,
Might be good.
when you look at route modifications, these are things that, we get that authorization from the commission. We don't normally take these to the board. We do take the budget piece to the board, but the commission's been very helpful in, guiding us with route changes and with, fair recommendations and things of that nature. Free ride days, promotions, that's all part of what's in the, Transit Advisory Commission's purview and works well for us. It works well for FTA, so, it's a good board, so we're very thankful to have the Transit Advisory Commission and what you all do, so,
The Christmas parade is coming. Have we considered participation in the Christmas parade? It's
believe-
growing every year. The parade is really, really happening. We could roll the big bus or the trolley, either way.
It's on the 14th, we are making plans.
Okay, we're making it happen. All right.
we
You
got
need
that.
any help decorating or something, holler at me. I love a parade. I've had, mention from a customer, and I've noticed it myself too, that the way the app currently works only shows the routes well when the buses are actively running these routes. And sometimes we wanna plan, like in the middle of the night or on a Sunday, I'm helping people plan a route at 2 a.m. on a Sunday night for their new job on Monday morning, and I can't see these routes. I'm having to go to the paper ride guide, and I'm sending people photos of scans of a paper ride guide. Is there something we can do so that the app could be visible to use for planning purposes when they're not actively running?
So unfortunately, the Route Shop app, do not have that ability.
Okay.
It's only active as for when the
Okay,
route is
when it
actually
is
running,
running.
because it's pinged off the information, so
Okay.
in case we do any deviation or whatever, and we make those adjustments and changes. But I am in the process, we are in the process of, doing a new thing, I'm gonna get this wrong, GFTS, I think it's the correct terminology, acronym or whatever for it. But it is working with Google, and so, all of our bus stops, but right now we have, we got quite a few bus stops. And so all of our routes and bus stops will eventually be available on Google. So
Wonderful.
you'll be able to.
I've visited cities where they are, and it is a help.
Yeah, we
So
still have
will
work to
a
do.
link to that be attached to the, our Ride Guide app?
Well, our GFTS information is out there, but it's not in the Google,
Mhm.
portion yet. It's a big process. But anybody can be able to access it, just by just going to Google. And when you go to Google Maps, you have those different icons as for car, a person walking, and then you usually see a transit bus. And so you'll be able to do the transit bus portion in this area to
That's
plan out. the
terrific.
trips and
That's
stuff.
gonna be a big upgrade for a lot of folks.
Okay.
And you don't have to download any extra apps
No,
to use the
no.
Google one. It's what's already in your phone.
Right.
All kinds of neat things.
It is, that's a big help. When I was in LA, there's works like that and it works great. Do we have anything else from the commission? What you got?
I would like to ask Ken, do we need to open a 30-day public hearing on the route modifications at this time or not?
I don't think so, I think we've got time to look at this again and make final improvements.
Okay.
I feel like we need the budget to
Yeah.
get approved
Thank you.
first, because they won't be any good if we don't get the budget, we're back to
Absolutely.
some redraws if we don't get a budget, and I don't want the public to have to think about it and then rethink about it entirely.
But I really appreciate what the commission did today, because it shows that we are in a process moving forward, and with the best that we can do with the plan that we have now. So I think the timing for that would be at the first meeting in 2025.
Now, we're to the citizens input part. Do we have anybody that has anything? From anybody today? Any of the staff got anything? All righty, I think we need to schedule the meeting for next time.
What month do you guys want? Do you want January, February? Ken said possibly have this toward the end of the first quarter, so do you wanna do January or February so we have time?
February would for sure get us after the new budget, even if there was a little hitch in the giddy up on the city side.
Yeah, I agree.
So February 5th or 12th?
Either one works for me.
Is that winter time though? That's what we have. Issues with snow?
Not the fifth for me.
Okay.
Oh, 12th is empty.
The 12th, okay.
Yay.
So Wednesday, February the 12th.
If there's nothing else, we are good to adjourn.
Do we need to do updates, how to get updates for the TAC meeting and stuff?
Oh, yes. Greg, what you got?
So anybody interested into, getting any updates, one, you can get updates and sign up, because what we try to do, for transit, our department is send out information about upcoming events. Our social media page, which is Facebook or Instagram, but also you can, sign up and get updates for Granicus, and you will receive, text message alerts or email alerts, that we send out about different events or stuff that we have coming up, free ride days, limited service or completely closed, or tech. And so, to get that information, to go get updates, put in your email address or phone number, and you will be able to there, so you can click on the link and get the, information there, or you can go to board meetings. Go to board meetings. I can't see from far, so I'm trying to look, well, I got no choice. So you go to, departments and it says government commission, I'm trying to read from afar. You can go to like today or, well, sorry, let me not do that. You can go all the way down, here we go, and you'll see transit advisory, upcoming events, okay? And if you do that, you can check out the agenda there and be able to get all the information you need for the tax meeting, okay?
That's probably the easiest way.
That's the
to do it.
easiest way, let's do it that way. And so if you go to, again, go to City of Portsmouth webpage, go to board meetings. Once you get on the board meeting homepage, if you go all the way down, based on when, our staff uploads it, you'll see it there, and you can just be able to click on agenda, and you'll get the agenda there, and you can download it, you can save it, you can print it off at home if you want to. You have all those options, okay?
The calendar also shows the date of, and it'll give you the time and the location of the meetings.
Right, you can see that on our section of the page, webpage, for that information. Or again, you can sign up for the updates, and you will receive those updates via email or text message, or you can do both. So, that's all I have.
So Greg, I already have signed up, but I'm trying to figure out how to check that I have all of the notifications I want.
If you go back to sign up, like you want to sign up